Wait for everything to sync up here. YouTube is green. And we're actually going on Facebook today. We're just waiting for Facebook here. Go live. Late night stream. Welcome everyone to the Weekly Narrative late night edition of your Monday night weekly live stream. Something flying in the air there. We got a very special live stream tonight because we just hit 10,000 subscribers. That's right, 10,000 subscribers finally. I know it's not much, it's not a lot, but for just a little kind of side hobby, it's pretty good. Today we're going to be talking about Trump derangement syndrome. And I've got this. These are my notes for today. It's very bright, but it's a lot. The point is, it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff here because I wanted to get in detail. I wanted to really get into it. What's up, Karen? Welcome to the chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I wanted to really get into Trump derangement syndrome, which is kind of the memification of what is essentially just kind of anxiety or depression, combination of both, related to Donald Trump and the success of Donald Trump over the past year and a half or so. There's been a lot of media incidents lately where we've seen Trump derangement syndrome kind of show its head, but it's getting to the point now where even people who used to be, and this is the important part, so even people who used to be on the anti-Trump train, they're seeing their friends and their colleagues around them saying this really wacky stuff, this Trump derangement syndrome stuff. They're saying these things, and then they're looking at their friends who are saying it, and they're saying, whoa, hey, I don't know about that. That's a little much. Also, this is directly linked to all of the Antifa violence that we've been seeing. We've been seeing quite a bit of this every weekend, really, for the past month. We've seen Antifa committing acts of violence in Canada for small demonstrations that went on there. We've seen it in, what was it, Boston, I think? Sacramento here. A concert goer got punched that I just interviewed last night on my other podcast. Let's see. The Washington Unite the Right to rally, Portland, Berkeley, violence every single weekend for the past 3 weeks. And that's all related to Trump derangement syndrome too. Now, that's getting, first of all, let me define, for those of you just joining, we're talking about Trump derangement syndrome today. Hey, what's going on? Hi. We need to define it though. So, it gets thrown around a lot, but I want to make sure I get a good definition on it. It's an anxiety and anger, a focused anger / anxiety directed towards Donald Trump or Donald Trump's supporters, Donald Trump's policies or ideas or actions. I think that's a broad enough definition. I think that kind of gets everything I want in there. So with that in mind, why is it so bad? First of all, you have to realize that anxiety and depression are really high. Just out of general mental disorders are kind of at, like, I don't know if they're at an all-time high, but they are super high right now. Let's see. Yeah, so it's been a 65% increase between 1999 and 2014 in anxiety and or depression diagnoses in adults, diagnoses age 15 to 44. So that's it was at a fairly decent level in 1999, but it's been steadily increasing since then, all the way up into 2014, right? So anxiety, depression, And drugs. Right now, anxiety disorders, just anxiety, not even depression, anxiety disorders affect over 18% of the entire U.S. population. So 1 in 5 people. If you meet 5, one of them probably had a panic attack that day. You know what I mean? Or that week. Something like that. It's really bad. So, but why? Why is there so much anxiety? Why has it increased so much in the past 10, 15 years? What's up, Jennifer? Welcome. We're talking about Trump derangement syndrome today. We're getting into kind of the root causes of it, why it's here, what we can do about it. Tony Jack, what's up? Welcome to the chat. I got Facebook and YouTube running today on the chat. So if you guys have questions or comments, drop them in there. I'll call you out. 18% of entire U.S. adult population is affected by anxiety. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen this. You've all seen this in your personal lives. You've seen it with your coworkers. You've seen it with your friends. If you align yourself with a conservative movement or Republican or even a libertarian, anything that can be misconstrued as being conservative or right, you probably either had some heated discussions with your friends or lost some friends or don't contact certain friends because they don't talk to you anymore, something like that. I have some people on my Facebook that I'll see post kind of, and this is a good example of Trump derangement syndrome, posting every week about how mad they are that Trump did this and how can Trump still be president. Oh my God, I can't believe he said this. How is he still the president? How can anyone vote for him? If you defend him, you need to unfriend me immediately. Stuff like that. Or if you believe in his ideas, you need to unfriend me. I've seen a lot of that. I don't unfriend those people because I like to watch what they do. It's kind of like watching a patient in a mental asylum. You're observing their behavior. You want to keep tabs on them. You want to see what they do, see how they behave. I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to comment on their post, even though it would be very enjoyable for me to do so. And in most situations, that's what I would do. But, there's some people that that if you talk to them or even tried to persuade them or give them some facts or anything like that, that they would immediately unfriend you, which doesn't sound like that bad of a thing. But in 2018, unfriending someone on Facebook essentially means that you're excommunicating that person, right? That person is exiled from your social circle now, right? Because, everyone has hundreds of Facebook friends, way more Facebook friends than they would ever have friends in real life that they actually hang out with. Nobody hangs out with every person they know on Facebook. So it's a very small percentage of people that you even interact with on a daily basis that you have as Facebook or Twitter. The only reason I'm using Facebook as an example is because I don't use Twitter really or Instagram. I've used Instagram for maybe a total of 5 minutes of my entire life. So you get these people who are so stage 5 TDS, right? Stage 5, advanced, it's spread across their entire body. They're posting every week on Facebook about how they can't take it anymore, but it's in anger, and it's almost every time they will ask for a solution or propose a solution, but they'll overlook the one thing that's so obvious that's causing that direct harm, right? So if you go in for, if you have a pain in your hand, you may have a splinter in your hand. You could pull that splinter out. There might be some residual pain, but that's the source of the problem. For these people who are on social media all day, the type of person that would even post that kind of thing on social media in the first place is really plugged into social media, right? I don't go on social media and complain about my life problems or complain about how, oh my God, I hate Nancy Pelosi or whatever Democrat, fascist, authoritarian person that I want to talk trash about that day. I don't complain about people like that. I just don't complain. I don't whine. I don't complain. These people, have you noticed this? It's almost like they're stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a loop, right? They go on there, they complain, they get offered facts or a proposal, solution, they don't respond or they ignore it, and then they repeat this cycle again the next week. So you'll see them come back again the next week and, basically say the same exact thing. It doesn't matter how much you interact with them. It doesn't matter what you say. It's still going to be the same result. So and this is the same thing with, say, for example, depression. If you've known someone that was depressed, or you've ever been depressed, you probably realize that you can't talk that person you can't talk someone out of being depressed, right? You can't talk someone out of being, having anxiety. You can't just like tell them how to get out of it and then they just get out of it. You can't give them a fact or the reality of a situation and then expect that to actually do anything productive for them, So it's very, very similar, if not the same exact case. I tell stories. Welcome to the chat. What's up, guys? I see you over there in Facebook chat, guys. So why? Okay, these people are on Facebook. What is that splinter? I mentioned that one thing that she could do to stop all this from happening. First of all, somebody already mentioned in chat one of the main causes. It's not a cause. And I have a whole system set up here. You're gonna see it. This person is plugged into social media. They're voluntarily putting themselves in a situation where they're getting negative reinforcement, constant negative reinforcement on themselves mentally, and there's actually documented neuroscience behind having constant negative reinforcement and how it programs your neural pathways so that when you experience a negative situation, you quickly and easily recall past negative experiences. So it reinforces that. So in a nutshell, essentially what you're doing when you continue to interact with this kind of thing, or you interact with any kind of negative stimulus, you are digging yourself into a deeper hole, right? So knowing that, every time you hear a negative thing about the same story, right, it's this cycle, this pattern of repetitive rumination. So you have this negative idea that's an incomplete idea. You never finish the thought. It's just, oh my God, Trump is bad. Oh my God, Trump is evil. But my life isn't any different. So that would be like a completed thought. But what they hear and what they think to themselves is, oh my God, Trump is evil. Oh my God, what do we do? Oh my God, how can you support this guy? They never complete the thought. So they're stuck in this pattern of rumination, which is probably one of the leading, I wouldn't say causes, but it's definitely a huge symptom of both anxiety and depression. Both anxiety and depression. In depression, you're ruminating about, bad things about yourself, right? I'm worthless. I'm never going to achieve my goals. I'm never going to do this. You repeat these things over and over and over in your head, right? So that's the depression aspect of it. With anxiety, it's the same thing. It's rumination. Only you're thinking things like, oh my God, I don't feel right, or there's too many people around me, or whatever particular type of anxiety you have. Like if you have health anxiety, you're going to say, oh my God, I think I might have a heart attack. And you keep thinking that over and over and over. And that's what causes the actual anxiety. So we've established that these people are ruminating about negative thoughts that are influencing their neural pathways that are reinforcing negative emotions within them. Also, it's worth noting that this has been studied as well. Negative emotions create a higher impact within your brain. They're more impactful than positive experiences of the same magnitude. And I don't remember how they can measure that, but essentially that's what memory is for. Okay, so memory, scientifically, evolutionarily, memory is it's not for remembering, oh, I remember when my kid first jumped in the pool, or he had his rubber ducky in the bathtub, or whatever it was. It's not for remembering like those Kodak moments. Memory is for remembering, okay, this is a bad plant, I don't want to eat that, or this is a predator, I don't want to go over there. This is dark alleyway, I don't want to go in there because I went in there last time I went in there, I got mugged and shot and stabbed. I somehow managed to survive, but I don't want to go back in there. You know, it's for remembering what not to do. It's remembering how to survive. It's not for remembering good things. That's probably why the negative events that you experience have a more impactful result on your brain than positive experiences. So you combine all of those facts, combine all of that information, that firestorm of mental, oh, what's up, Tara? Welcome. You combine all of that information that I just gave you, right? And ruminating on negative ideas, neural pathways, reprogramming your brain to be more reactive to negative stimulus. Negative stimulus making you more sensitive overall. You're stuck in these cycles of hitting bad behavior, but still exposing yourself to the stimulus that caused that bad behavior. This is just the average, everyday, like, Trump hater. This is base level. Okay, this is what I would call stage 1. Well, stage 2. Let's call this stage 2 on the narrative assembly line, because this is all wrapped. Trump derangement syndrome is all wrapped. It's a product that is at the end of what I call the narrative assembly line. So, other than social media, why I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the chat. Let's get some interaction going on here. I got 1.3 million viewers in there right now. I want to hear some reasons why you think anxiety and depression have gone up. And I've got a list of reasons here, but I want to see how many of your reasons match up with what I got. So, like I said, 65% increase in anxiety and depression between 1999 and 2014. Probably even more between 2014 and 2018. Those are just the most recent numbers I could find. So why? What do you guys think? Give me some ideas. I already listed social media, so that's, you can't cheat. Don't say social media again, because I already said that. All right, we're already getting some ideas flowing in here. There's a little delay between when I talk and the chat when you guys see it, so I got to kind of wait a little bit so you guys can hear what I'm saying. Let's see, we got lack of exercise, proper diet, social media addiction. Yep, yeah, so those are big. Lack of exercise and proper diet. That's good. Those were on my list, actually. Lack of exercise, that's a huge one. I would attribute that to the increase of technology overall, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, I was outside playing every day until I got a PlayStation and then a computer, and then I never played outside again. You know what I mean? Everyone's inside watching TV, Netflix, this and that. So that's a good one. Proper diet is also good. I think that's a sub-factor of one of my most important ones that I have here, and that's that everyone's kind of living what we perceive to be, anyway, like a faster lifestyle, right? It just seems like everyone has more stuff to do. We have more stuff to do in the same amount of time. So obviously a side effect of that is that you don't get the ability to grow a garden and eat fresh vegetables and make a salad, chop up lettuce, and slowly make your own salad dressing or whatever. You just make your own food. Everyone's running around. You're getting McDonald's, you're doing the Burger King, you're getting a coffee in the morning, and then you're getting a biscuit at Starbucks, something like that, right? Nobody's getting any kind of actual proper nutrition, which is huge. That's actually one of the biggest factors, probably. You're right, Tara. You called it out. See, this is why I have to ask you guys, because you guys come up with the better ideas than I had. Diet and all this processed food that we have, that's good. Joe Rogan talked about it pretty extensively. Yep, yeah, definitely, that's true. Karen says people need more interaction with other people out of themselves and their heads. That's a big factor too. So that's kind of linked in with the increase of social media and the increase of technology. Now we have these phones. And I was just thinking about it today of how crazy it is that we're always on these things. And, just 15 years ago, I wouldn't have thought twice about leaving my house for hours and hours without having a cell phone. Could you imagine? Just imagine leaving your house right now without your cell phone for just one day. Leave your house for one day without your cell phone, right? It probably starts to drop a little bit of anxiety in you Because you're like, oh my God, what if I can't find my way to the nearest gas station? I can't pull up Google Maps. You know what I mean? Other things that I have on my list is that we have no downtime. So there's no rest. There's no period of time like before bed that you can just clear your mind. Some people do make a point to meditate, but that's very niche. It's not a widespread thing. Maybe in Japan, but not here. So you have to have a time period where you cool down, you empty your brain out, right? Because you're going all day, and then you try to fall asleep, and then we wonder why Ambien prescriptions are through the roof, and nobody can sleep, and everyone's like, losing their minds because they can't sleep properly. And two more big ones. I have increased politicization. So everything is politicized now. Music concerts, you can't do that. You can't watch a movie. You can't watch cartoons. You can't. I just saw an example today of somebody, like a cartoon that was making little political kind of jabs at illegal immigration or something like that. I interviewed a guy last night on the Degree 45 podcast who just here in Sacramento, he went to a rock concert from Social Distortion. I never heard of him, but he got beat by the lead singer. The lead singer of the group jumped down from the stage and punched the guy in the face and spit on him because he flipped him off while he was saying some anti-Trump stuff. So the singer was saying some anti-Trump stuff, of course. And I've been to plenty of festivals and concerts, and I've heard that kind of stuff for the past, year and a half, 2 years or so. If you hate Trump, put your hands in the air. Oh yeah, I hate Trump so much. That really gets the crowd going. So you've got all these factors pumping this anxiety-riddled generation. And then you add the drugs onto it, the prescription drugs. Those don't help because every drug you take messes you up in some other way. Take something for anxiety and it kills like your sex drive, or it reduces your appetite, and then you're not eating as much, and then you have no energy. It's like a chain reaction, you know what I mean? They all have these crazy side effects that make your stomach bleed, whatever it is, and then you're going in and out of the doctor, and that creates more anxiety. So you have all this anxiety and depression just ready to go, like a powder keg, just this compressed explosive powder just ready to go. And then what happens after you put all that? We know that's in society. These powder kegs laying around everywhere, they look like people, but they're really powder kegs. What happens after all that? Trump wins the election. Now, most people don't have any legitimate reason to be upset that Trump won the election because, their arguments are as about extensive as he's got orange hair, he's a reality TV show, he went bankrupt, all these non-reasons that they clearly have no idea what they're talking about, but they want to say something negative because they hate the guy for some reason, and their friends hate him, and they wanted Hillary Clinton to win. So cue Trump derangement syndrome. We're now a year and a half, or 2 years also, almost into the whole Trump derangement syndrome. And what do we see? CNN, 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, a guest went on CNN, and they were talking about Trump. I can't remember the exact topic because I only saw this particular clip. The guest on the show says that Donald Trump and Putin and that other guy, some other dictator from anyway, he said Trump and Putin and this other guy were in an axis of she didn't say axis of evil, but she said axis of something, right? And that's a clear, obvious kind of a nod towards the Nazi axis of evil. And then she went on to say, the guests kind of fought back on that. They were like, "Oh, well, I don't think you have enough evidence to say it. I wouldn't say that." And this is CNN anchors calling her out on her Trump derangement syndrome. And when CNN anchors are calling out their guests on Trump derangement syndrome, then you know it's bad. What's up, Bobo? Welcome to chat. The CNN anchor's like, no, I don't think you can say that. And then she kind of like jokingly says like, oh, do you think Trump's gonna? I don't think Trump's killed anybody in internment camps or anything like that yet. And then the guest says, well, if Trump had the chance, he would be rounding people up and killing them. So that is a prime example of what stage. Well, I thought Trump derangement syndrome only went to stage 5, but that might be stage 6, like some new unfounded form of Trump derangement syndrome, where not only do you think you actually think you can read people's minds, that alone will land you in an insane asylum. But on top of the fact that you think you can read people's minds, you think the President of the United States of America, who has repeatedly made several moves towards increasing, liberty and giving choices back to the states and reducing state power, wants to round people up in internment camps and kill them systematically. So very, very delusional. Clearly, like late stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome. And then we have this. Now, it's been kind of a slow couple news weeks, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed this. August is usually pretty slow for news. I don't know why. This is a really good one that just popped up on CNN yesterday, or maybe the day before. I think it was yesterday. You may have seen this. This is Paris Denard, or Denard. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a black, African-American, black Trump supporter. Goes on CNN. He's being interviewed by the CNN host about why Trump is removing John Brennan's security clearance, right? Because that's all that's in the news lately is Brennan and security clearance. This security clearance takes everyone's security clearances away. So I want you to watch this like 2-minute clip. I want you to see the reaction from Phil Mudd. Okay, Phil Mudd versus Paris Denard on CNN. Here we go.
Is going to silence them.
The question he's asking is why did Trump take away the security clearances? Just why did he do it?
It's not true. So they're still talking.
Why is the president doing it? To what end?
I think what we have to look at is the idea of norms and laws and privileges and rights. And these are all getting confused under this administration, with people thinking that because something was a norm means that it's law. That's not the case. A lot of these people that have these security clearances, and this is the secret in the swampy Washington, D.C., they have them and they keep them because it's profitable for them after they leave government. Because if you have a security clearance, especially high-level security clearances, your contracts and your consulting gigs pay you a lot more money because of the access that you have. I hope the president continues to do this, and I hope he adds Omarosa to the list, because if she has a clearance, she too, because of her actions, should have it revoked.
Well, I don't know if I'd put...
So essentially his argument is that these people who are no longer part of the, he's not active in the CIA anymore. He's using the security clearance in the private sector to get more money from private consulting gigs, like from CNN or, from people that want to get information from him for interviews or whatever it is. So that's his argument, is that they don't need him and that they're making money off of their security clearances.
Put Omarosa in the same category, the 75 people who signed those letters. But Phil Mudd, I imagine you want to react.
Look at his face.
Profitable, Paris. When I am requested to sit on an advisory board, let me ask you one question. How much do you think I'm paid to do that at the request of the U.S. government? Give me one answer, and you got 10 seconds. How much?
I'll ask you a question. How much are you paid for your consulting and contracting gig for being a
I have no
official?
contracts with the U.S. government that pay money.
I'm not talking.
Zero.
And this is the thing.
When
I'm not talking
I'm
about
asked
the
to
federal
offer advice to the U.S. government,
Phil,
I get paid
honest.
zero.
Phil, let's be
That's
honest.
it.
I'm not talking about your role with the federal government. I'm talking about the
who are you
contracting
talking about?
gigs that you're a consultant and a contractor. The consulting firms that they form and that you all get is because you get more money when having a for having the security clearance.
That
Stop
is
acting
incorrect.
like that doesn't happen.
I have
That's
zero
the truth.
consulting relationships with the U.S. government. Zero.
I'm not talking, Phil, that's a good talking point. I'm not talking about relationship with the government. I'm talking about in the private sector. When you have a security
I
clearance
have
and you
zero
keep it.
relationships with the private sector that involve my security clearance. Zero. I get $0 from
It gets better.
consulting
Wait for it.
companies that deal with the U.S. government. Are we clear?
Well, I will be clear in saying that everybody in Washington, D.C. knows if you don't want to be honest about it, that's on you. But if you have a security clearance and you keep it, you get
done,
more
Jim.
money to
We're
have
done. Get out.
Phil,
It's not your show, so I'm
25 years
saying
in
right
this
now,
service, and this is
don't
the
be
shit
so
I get.
defensive about
Get
this.
out.
Don't be so defensive about this.
But-
Your voice is still here. You can still do whatever
Bubba.
you want. But the politicalization of the intelligence community under this administration, with the people coming on here every day, tweeting and talking about this administration, you all have made it about politics, not the president.
Let's take a beat here for a second. And Phil, I appreciate your patience because I know it's getting personal here.
It's getting personal. That's an awkward position to be in as a host, right? Hey, Boba, thank you for the $5 tribute. Appreciate that, man. Sharknado is ending. I haven't seen any of them, but maybe now that you tributed $5, I'm gonna go watch the whole series. So this guy has a complete and absolute meltdown on TV, right? And can you imagine? So he's placed onto this panel or this interview with the hopes that he's going to give a good argument as to why everyone should keep their security clearances after they're not part of any security organization anymore. Why does Omarosa need a security clearance? Why does John Brennan need a security clearance? Does anybody know? Does anybody know why? I don't know. So he loses his mind, right? That's just the general level of anxiety. And if this is someone who's supposed to be 25 years of service and one interview is a little too much pressure for you and you just blow a gasket, he literally yelled, I don't need to hear this shit. That's what he said on CNN. Get out. It's not even his show. He told him to get out. What's up, Brian? Hey, buddy. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about Trump derangement syndrome today. If you guys are just joining, we've spent the last 32 minutes going through the anxiety and depression trends in America, and now we're linking it into Trump derangement syndrome. We're giving a few funny examples of Trump derangement syndrome. You just missed Phil Mudd breaking down, having a panic attack live on CNN, telling the black man to get out. Now, I don't know if that's kosher for CNN, but maybe if that happened on Fox, they'd be a little more upset about it. Kicking the guest off the show. Yeah, that's Karen. That is funny. Echo, welcome. Hey, Sean, what's up? Young Barkley, what's up, guys? Welcome to chat. So those are just a couple of examples, right? I went through a couple of examples, just literally in the last 2 days. Those are the two examples of mainstream media having mental breakdowns because of the constant. Now, what you see, you can't really get a good bearing on what's actually happening in the guy's head, but you have to imagine there's a pallet on top of his head with like an elephant on it, literally just crushing his spine of pressure from the people that are his handlers who are sending him out there to correct the narrative on the security clearances, right? You don't just get a spot on a CNN interview for fun. You're sent there, or you're plucked to push a certain narrative, and essentially he lost his mind while he was trying to do it. So there's a lot of pressure on the dude's spine and on his head when he was sent out there to try and do that. So it's that pressure from top that we don't see. That's also part of it. The Trump derangement syndrome. It comes down from the top. Trickle down economics, trickle down spine crusher. I don't know what you would call that. Another good example. This is something I just found today. This is good. John Oliver. Who watches John Oliver? Now, as I was watching the video, I realized there's like a 30-second delay in the chat, but so I'm not going to wait for everyone to answer that. But who watches John Oliver? I used to watch John Oliver. John Oliver is one of the best examples that you could find of actual psychological manipulation and controlling of the narrative. Now, you might be asking yourself, Oh, but Jeremy, it's John Oliver. He's a funny guy with a stupid accent. He does a comedy show. What are you talking about? Well, let me elaborate. I used to watch John Oliver quite a bit when I had HBO on my Apple TV because I watched Game of Thrones. I no longer have that, just like I no longer have Netflix. Canceled that. Terrible. John Oliver has a show with a very repetitive, very formulaic kind of template to it, right? So I'm going to read something that I found online from a psychologist. Take that for what you will. What he says makes a lot of sense, but there's no way to verify if this guy's an actual psychologist or not. Cheers, by the way. This is what we get. I ended up pulling up an episode or two off of YouTube to show her what I meant. Talking to someone else about John Oliver's show. All the segments I've ever seen from his show follow the same repetitive format. Present some argumentation and facts for about 10 seconds, then quickly follow up with these with a snarky quip, which then overwhelmingly takes the form of a complete non sequitur or otherwise absurd metaphor, right? Because he always makes these ridiculous jokes. Before any rational processing of the preceding argument can take place in the mind of the viewer. So he presents some facts or ideas that may represent the other side, and then immediately makes a joke about them before you can even process those facts. Further telling is that the only beats or pauses in the show's pacing exist solely to highlight the approving laughter or applause of the studio audience. If you watch him, one thing you'll notice is that he just talks and talks and talks and talks until he throws out a joke. The audience laughs. That's the only time he stops talking. Repeat this basic formula without variation, 20 to 40 times in a row, and you have one of the 12 to 20 minute segments from the backbone of the show. So the end effect is not to deliver information, but rather to literally teach the viewers on a subconscious level to mentally associate derisive laughter with any person or opinion at odds with their ideas or that narrative. It accomplishes this by maintaining a strict adherence to a roughly 20-second cycle in which a stimulus is presented and a response is cued. This is the sense in which the show is fundamentally hypnotic in effect, even more so than its precursors, The Daily Show, Colbert, etc., etc. And it's representative of the media's increasing mastery of the methodologies of mass conditioning. It's a technical achievement that has been, it's admirable, the level of technical psychological achievement that show is. Now, that's exactly why I stopped watching it. I couldn't put it in that well of a term. This is vodka, by the way, Brian. This is why I stopped watching this show. I didn't stop watching it because this guy's talking trash about Trump all the time. I hate this. But his show is so repetitive and formulaic. It's the exact same thing every time. Here's an idea. Here's some facts. Here's a stupid joke. It's usually sometimes related to internet memes or other trendy, Generation Z culture or whatever. Millennial culture he's trying to aim at. It just gets boring, but that's exactly what this guy's trying to say. Is that exact same thing that I'm describing? It's hypnosis to a certain degree, and it's every time you hear an idea, apply this to every other late night show that you've ever seen. All the late night shows now, what are they? They're all the exact same thing. They're all the exact same thing. Something about Trump, audience laughs. Just the other day, Bill Maher went on. He tried to defend Alex Jones. Bill Maher tried to defend Alex Jones by saying, okay, Bill Maher went on there. He opened up. He said, so YouTube banned Alex Jones off of their platform today or whatever. And the audience started to cheer. They were like, yay, yeah. And Bill Maher, when the audience was done cheering, was like, liberals are supposed to be for free speech. That includes hate speech. So I'll give Bill Maher a little credit. He went to defend Alex Jones in his free speech. But the audience was so pre-programmed to be this, oh yeah, something bad about Trump, something bad about conservatives. I don't care about any of the deeper narratives regarding my freedom of speech and how my rights are being eroded on a daily basis. Yeah! Hypnotized. That's hypnosis, okay? So this, now, we're in stage 3 of the narrative assembly line, okay? Stage 1 was already present. It was the anxiety and the depression in the general population. Stage 2 is the reinforcement through the fact that we don't have any time to decompress. We're reinforced through social media. Now we're getting reinforced through Hollywood, through media, mainstream media, CNN that we saw, John Oliver, all these comedians, people that we're supposed to go to at the end of the day to laugh about stupid things and just laugh and have a good time. We're going there, and what are we hearing? We're hearing the same thing that we see on our Facebooks and our Twitters all day. Anti-Trump. Oh, political stuff. Oh, Colbert's talking about Trump again. How original. Wow, I can't believe it. So even on your leisure time, even at your concerts, anywhere you go, everything you do now, it's all politicized. It's all Trump. So you're getting constant negative reinforcement all the time. Yeah, at least Mark gets it. And that's right, Sean. At least Mark gets it to a certain degree. You're getting constant negative reinforcement. And like I said at the beginning, with how the way that neural networks work, negative reinforcement is way stronger than any kind of positive reinforcement. And every time you have a negative experience, it recalls all of the other negative experiences that you've had related to that experience in your head. So every single day, they're getting bombarded on their Facebook, on their Twitter, on the TV when they go home, in the morning when they wake up and they talk to their coworkers. Constant bombardment of anti-Trump, anti-conservative, and then they go on their Facebooks and then they complain, oh my God, how is this happening? How can this be? How is he still in office? How can you vote for him? How can you like his ideas? Like I was saying with my Facebook friends, that's exactly what they do, but they don't know. They could simply unplug from that social media, and that would most likely actually cure their Trump derangement syndrome. So we're on the Trump derangement syndrome is the nice box at the end of the narrative assembly line, the narrative being anti-Trump. Trump is bad, right? So it's reinforced by Hollywood, social media. You're hypnotized. You're literally being hypnotized by the media. And the one place where you think you can go to be safe to actually think about ideas out loud, college. Nope, not even safe there. We all know how bad colleges are. We've seen plenty of videos and stories about colleges lately. That's where my career as a YouTuber started, at Berkeley. Ben Shapiro was just trying to give a talk. $600,000 worth of security just to give a talk because people are that triggered to hear facts and statistics. That's all Ben Shapiro does anyway. He's talking about facts and statistics, so I don't know. So what, rumination. I talked about rumination. That's what all of this is, the hypnosis, seeing it everywhere, the constant negative reinforcement creates rumination. So you hear these things. I go to protest. I ask someone, why is Donald Trump terrible for America? Or why are these people traitors for liking Donald Trump? And this is actually what the guy said. He said, well, Donald Trump's a liar. He's lied 8,000 times in the past 2 years. And I kid you not, I was watching CNN the night before in my hotel room in Portland, and I saw the exact statistic that this guy cited. So he's plugged in directly to CNN, just getting a constant feed of negative non-information into his head that he literally goes out into the real world and he just regurgitates it. Donald Trump has 8,000 lies in the last 2 years. Okay, but what? Your thought is not complete. You need to complete the thought. That's a rumination. You're ruminating on the fact that Donald Trump is a liar. You haven't completed the thought yet. Donald Trump lied about what? What was the result? What happened? Donald Trump lied. And you'll see this in the video when it eventually comes out, but I asked him, I was like, hey, okay, yeah, I saw that statistic last night too, but what does that mean? Donald Trump lied, so what? And I put the microphone in his face. He turns around, and he doesn't want to talk to me anymore because they can't think. They're hypnotized. This is deep Trump derangement syndrome. And the question that sparked my investigation into Trump derangement syndrome was one that I got from going to these events. And I'm trying to think about how can I I want to help these people. I feel bad for these people that they are in a constant state of absolute and utter terror, anxiety, depression. I want to help them. It's part of the reason I do this. Hopefully, maybe one person will watch this who has Trump derangement syndrome, and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. How could you possibly have one half of the country that thinks everything is amazing and one half of the country that thinks everything is going to hell in a handbasket? How can you have that? It's because one half of the country is stuck in this cycle of rumination and negative reinforcement about literally everything that they hear about is negative and bad. And the question that I've asked myself that sparked this whole investigation was, how can I get these people out? Can I convert people? I literally went out thinking that I can convert people from being Trump derangement syndrome, and I can't. You cannot. You cannot do it. They have to do it themselves. Just like I said earlier with depression and anxiety, you can't tell someone how to get out of depression or how to get out of anxiety. Now, if they go to therapy, they can learn the techniques to get themselves out, but even then, the therapist isn't doing it for them. The therapist is only teaching them the tools so that they can do it themselves. You can't get somebody out of Trump derangement syndrome. They can only do it themselves. And they have to be at least willing to accept the fact that maybe they were wrong on a few things politically. And that's big. That's a big thing for people to do. They can't admit that they were wrong about politics. So you're kind of stuck, right? We're stuck. We've been stuck in this Trump derangement syndrome epidemic for the last 2 years, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. It seems like it's peaking, actually. And Scott Adams, if you guys watch Scott Adams, he thinks it's peaking too. And these examples that I just gave you are pretty good evidence that we're at an all-time high of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, we've thrown everything we possibly could at the guy. Racist, bigot, sexist. We've thrown porn stars at him, trying to get porn stars to dethrone him. We've tried to throw Russian collusion at the guy. Thrown everything but the kitchen sink at Donald Trump, and nothing is working. So, of course, your Trump derangement syndrome is going to be even deeper than it was before, because you're literally going insane trying to override the results of a legitimate election. So here we are, 2018. What does that Trump derangement syndrome create? On top of all that I just said, the most blatant example for me, just in the past 3 weeks, if you look at the news, if you look at, not the news, if you look online on YouTube, the actual news, not the narrative factory of CNN or whatever, everyone's talking about Antifa violence. Antifa beat up a Trump supporter here. Antifa was in Boston attacking police. Antifa was in Portland attacking police. Antifa was in Berkeley getting attacked by the police and disobeying police orders. They're everywhere. So after you get pumped through this huge assembly line, like Ford, the guy that made the cars, he made the assembly line, the first one. Okay, just imagine that. An old school assembly line with all these machines smashing stuff. Put a person on that. They get smashed. They get sent out to the end. They get a little rivet put on the side of their head. They come out. They're so angry because they're full of the narrative. They're full up to here with the narrative. They're ready to go. They've been turned into a soldier, a mind-controlled soldier for the anti-Trump narrative. That's what Trump derangement syndrome is. The end result of going the entire distance on the narrative assembly line. Okay? So you get pumped out the end. You had many chances to get off of the assembly line at each of the steps that I mentioned, But when you make it to the end, then that is where you're pretty much gone. I mean, not even medication can help you. That is where Antifa comes from. Okay, that's what Antifa is. Antifa is the end result of the narrative assembly line. People who made it to the end, and they just, because you know what, every assembly line has a certain percentage of errors. You know, you get bad ones you have to send back. The ones that were 100% perfect, the ones that were absolutely just shiny, flawless, the ones that came out of the assembly line so perfect, those are the guys that go out to the streets with masks on their face and, you know, all blacked out. Those are the ones who are committing acts of violence. Those are the ones who are hitting people in the head with bike locks. Those are the ones who are throwing piss jugs at cops, getting tear gassed, not complying with police orders, attacking police when there's no white supremacists around, doing all these violent and irrational things. That is the flawless end result of the anti-Trump narrative assembly line. And that's the most ironic thing, because all these Antifa people are out there saying, oh, workers are being exploited, you're being exploited, you're being exploited, black people are being exploited, you're being exploited. The whole reason they're there in the first place is literally because they have been exploited by the media, by social media, by their friends, by college, by their medication, by their own mental illness. All of those things led them to be exactly where they are with the black mask. The black mask is the end result of all that. And that's what they want. That's what the people who are controlling the narrative want. They want a nice assembly line where you get on in college, or you get on in social media, you get on CNN. And, you know, if you get on CNN, you're going to miss the college and you might miss some of the social media part of the assembly line, but you're going to get off at the end and you're still going to be pretty much in Trump derangement syndrome to some degree. So they have a great system set up. It's really the first ever mass psychological assembly line that we've ever seen. It's exactly like Ford's first assembly line for cars. This is the first assembly line for mass mental illness and mass derangement on a national scale that we've ever seen. And that's it. That is Trump derangement syndrome, where it comes from, what it means, what it's caused by, and how it's cured. And the answer to how it's cured is the worst part. You can't cure it. There's no external cure. The person has to cure themselves. In all likelihood, they aren't going to be cured. They're going to carry it until after Donald Trump is out of office, right? So these people, and I'm calling it right now, if Donald Trump gets reelected, Trump derangement syndrome is going to continue for another 6 years, okay? 6 years, people. Another 6 years of this extreme anxiety, going on Facebook and yelling, crying about how, oh my God, how could this be? Defriending people. Like, you're actually hurting your own social lives. You're hurting your personal life by being afflicted by this. And it's just like any other mental illness. It's just like anxiety or depression. It hurts your relationships with everyone around you. You're gonna alienate yourself from people. You're going to isolate yourself. You're going to be more drawn in. You're going to be more protective. You know, you're not going to be open to any kind of ideas or opinions other than your own. And that's what we call siloing, right? You put yourself in a silo, or it's basically mentally segregating yourself. And that's a very bad effect. If they don't get some kind of retribution after the 6 years is up, they might actually, like, start shooting people or something. I don't know. I can't imagine that far in my head because this is such a new phenomenon. I don't know what the crazy end game result is going to be. Maybe it's the overthrowing of America. Who knows? But the other things about it is that you have to have some compassion. We call these people, we make fun of them. You know, we call Trump derangement syndrome kind of like a joke. the fact is that this is a real, actual national mental health epidemic. This is real. Okay, I'm not joking. I'm not saying this out of sarcastically. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. There's been reports of anxiety doctors, therapists. They're seeing increased numbers, increased people coming into them since the election happened. Trump-related anxiety, just another, it's a gateway to Trump derangement syndrome, essentially. But look out for this in the media. You'll see it. You'll see it on CNN. You'll see it sometimes on Fox when they have opposing guests on, like Zach Petkanas. He's got crazy Trump derangement syndrome. How absolutely dare you? That guy, remember that guy? He's got Trump derangement syndrome, probably stage 4. So that's the first thing. It's real. Okay, it's a real health issue. Try to have compassion for them, but just know that you can't talk them out of it. Don't try to reason with them, because you're only going to make it worse. You're going to make yourself look like an enemy to that person, and you don't want that to happen, because they're just going to isolate themselves even further. They're going to become more defensive. The second thing, I guess I kind of just covered it, is that they can't be talked out of it or changed out of it. It has to come from within. They have to see some kind of glimmer of hope, something that resonates with them, a fact, a situation, a statistic. I know those aren't as popular these days, but if they see something that kind of plants a seed in their head, maybe it'll get them to question, and then they'll kind of lead themselves to the truth from there. And that's really all this is we're trying to lead people to the truth. The truth is that Trump isn't that bad. I'm not even that big of a Trump fan. I'm just saying, for these Trump derangement syndrome people, the truth, it's not as bad as you think it is. So you're living in this terrible, hellish world of purgatory, almost voluntarily. It's almost voluntary to be in a state of perpetual agony like that, because you could unplug from social media, you could unplug from CNN, go outside and look around, talk to somebody, have a conversation with somebody, and you'll see for yourself that it's not that bad. It's not as bad as you think it is. So those are my tips for those who may think they have Trump derangement syndrome and you want to get out of it. Okay. I've never had it myself, so I don't know. I can't speak from experience, but I've been in similar situations mentally, and that's the only really way you can get out of it. So, how absolutely dare you? Should be my screen name, says Karen. Yeah, I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that clip like once a week just to keep me going. It's really funny. I mean, just he really tries to be mad, and it's funny. I read about this in a Canadian newspaper, says Sean Rufus. Antifa just attacked somebody in Canada, I think yesterday or the day before. So they're out there. Careful, man. It's a crazy world. Tara says terminal soy disease. TSD. Terminal soy. That's a good tip too. Lay off the soy. Hit the gym. Get some testosterone. Stop pumping your body full of fake processed foods. Get some actual testosterone. Get rid of the estrogen producing soy, and you'll be on your way to victory. And that's it, guys. That is my Trump derangement syndrome breakdown. I don't know how much more in depth you can get on Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know if this has been done before on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm a pioneer or anything, but I mean, I gave a pretty decent psychological breakdown of where Trump derangement syndrome comes from, and not in a super politicized way. I never called these people idiots. I never said they were stupid. I never said they were dumb. Hey, Ian Cornell says, I love all your videos, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Tara asked about the documentary. It's in production. This is a dead serious documentary, though, okay? So don't expect it too soon. I work on it every day. There's no ETA. If I had to guess, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be a while. It's a big deal. But that's all I got for you guys. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone for getting me to 10,000 subscribers. Hit 10,000 today, by the way. I'm at like 10,002. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining me on the live streams. This is all about you. Everything I just said, all this that I wrote out. These are my notes, by the way. That's what my brain looks like on the inside. That's how I do it. That's all for you. This is all for you guys. This isn't for me. It's all for you. So I just want to let you know that you are appreciated. Thank you for watching and continuing to watch. And I'll see you guys next week. Monday live stream, 8 o'clock. I was a little late today. 7:45, 8 o'clock next week on Monday. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys. Jeremy from the Weekly Narrative. I'm out of here.